Good evening. Welcome to our 221st meeting. Yes. 221. Are there any new members here tonight? No new members. How about a guest? Do we have any guests here tonight? Yep. Oh, wonderful. You want to stand up and say your name and tell us what you do and
Six, so you guys gotta come over, so we're checking it out, and, we'll be first tonight.
welcome. Yeah. We had one other. Somebody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Kelly Gerlach, and Eileen brought me tonight. I saw her shooting. I shoot with a Nikon, have for a long time. Just got back from Tanzania, so I.
Oh, wow. Very
thousands of
good.
pictures there, so, I just enjoyed it for a hobby. It used to be a business, it's a hobby.
Oh, okay.
I think much better.
But it's supposed to be fun. Photography, no matter whether it's a business or a pleasure, it's supposed to be fun, so. And we hope you enjoy the meeting tonight. We're glad to see you all here tonight, that's for sure. Is Donna Sutton here? Donna, would you stand up? Donna is the new DIPSG Board of Directors Director. We now have a full slate of directors, so thank you, Donna. For those of you that are interested in the F3C auction or F3C conference, and everybody should be, I want to remind you that as a DIPSG member, you get a $29 discount on the ticket. So when you go to sign up, all you have to do is where it says club, you put in DIPSG, and you'll automatically get the $29 discounted price. And then we reimburse F3C for that because we're doing it as a club. It's not the F3C. So be sure and indicate DIPSG and save yourself $29. Also, always speaking of money, we do have a new members campaign. And if a member recommends the club and the person ends up joining and they indicate who recommended them, we give them a $20 Visa gift card. So we got a couple of guests tonight and hopefully they'll join and we'll be able to get rid of some of the $20 Visa gift cards. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marcel, our Master of Ceremonies. All yours, Marcel.
Thank you, Sonny. All right, who do we have first tonight? Oh, by the way, I was working all day, busy, and I was a little later than usual getting the food and drink. So I ran into Wawa and ordered the coffees, and they said be 20 minutes. Okay, so I went back in 20 minutes. They carried them out to the car. I said, I'd like to have 2 regular coffees and 2 decafs. And they said, that's fine, we'll take care of that. But they didn't mark them. So we don't know which is decaf, which is regular, so you could pour half of one and half of another. You'll get a quarter decaf. All right, so let's see. First up, Art David, are you here tonight? I think so. We waited a few minutes for Art.
Thanks, Melissa. Good evening. Great to see such a nice crowd. Shortly after we started the competition, we received an email from one of our members who indicated that the submissions were so good that a new member, a novice, would be intimidated by entering. And I thought about that. I said, well, how are we going to deal with that? So I sent out an email to the board of directors, the committee for competition, and all of our judges. And over the 2-week period, we had maybe 50 emails where we were discussing what we could do, different methodologies by which we could encourage more of the novices, new people to join and submit their images. Well, we went through a number of things. One thought was to create a master, what do we call it? Not a, trying to think of the word, but anyway, where the people who had received more than, let's say, 5 blue ribbons over the course of the last year would not compete anymore, but would rather submit their images, and it would be like a showcase, a master's showcase. We thought about that, and the feedback that I got from the members of the committee was that that wasn't going to work, and I also spoke to a few of the top photographers who've won international competitions and have had magazine articles and so forth, and they said, no, that's not a good idea. So what about a beginners or a novice category? Well, a lot of people responded saying that let's not do that. First of all, technically, it's very difficult to determine who's a novice and who isn't, and after how many ribbons you become a regular rather than a novice. So we said no. In addition, philosophically, we wanted people to just kind of jump in and start swimming and enjoy and learn from the process. So the distillation was to have a regular competition, and for a threshold of, let's say, out of 20, 13 would be the threshold by which we would request the judges make comments, so that they would encourage people with lower scores who really weren't used to submitting to give them some information. In addition, we're going to start classes for the competition. We're going to call them competition preparation classes. We haven't quite yet figured out how we're going to do it, but I think that will work and probably be helpful. It'll, of course, be online in Zoom and so forth. And I welcome any input that you might have with regard to the competitions. This competition ends tomorrow night. Up to this point today, when I checked. Saturday. It's the 15th? It's the 15th. I lied. It's the 15th, Saturday. What time?
11:59.
11:59
PM up here.
and 59 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay? The judges will be making comments, and if you have a red number attached to the bottom of your image, it means that there's a comment. And you'll click on that and you'll be able to get the comment.
Click on the image.
Click on the image and a comment will appear. All right, so you have 2 days in which to submit. We have 135 submissions so far, which I think is pretty good. I haven't looked at it, but 135 images so far. If you aren't competing and you want to see what's going on, you can still see all of the images that have been submitted. Very easy, just go on the website and click on View All Competition Images. All right, good luck and please submit. Yes, sir.
Art, is there any people maybe start off at a certain level, get next level, and you're scored, so maybe there's an incentive to submit so that we can.
You're suggesting that as they improve, they get an award or recognition?
Don't look at me.
Honestly, I just don't know how we can mathematically determine the rate of improvement.
You minimize that.
It would be very difficult. With so many members, maybe you don't submit something for a year. Then how do you determine what the rate of improvement is? Somehow I don't think it would work. If you can come up with some kind of an algorithm that would enable us to do that, I'd be happy to hear about it.
Oh, that's serious.
Hey, why not? Anyone else? All right, well, good luck. Thank you.
All right, well, we have a special guest tonight, next up. So you want to give a big round of applause because he drove all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, just to be here tonight. And we only see him about once every 2 years. So give a big hand for Larry Richardson.
I was up in Atlanta 3 weeks ago. I don't remember why. And by the way, Marcel, there's a 50-50 chance that I won't be sleeping tonight. Is that correct? Oh. I am ready to go. So what do I do? Just touch this?
Just like the screen there.
Okay, I'm going to go pretty fast. We had quite a few people participating in our Collier County Special Operations facility. I was amazed. I actually got to touch a helicopter, and I love that kind of stuff. Am I doing this the right way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is Wes here tonight? No. Okay, so it was, I mean, I like to shoot animals and not people. I don't really like them too much. But I like all this mechanical stuff, but it was a hard shoot for me. I'm really used to things jumping around and, they weren't. And so that's why I'm glad I went, because I think that every situation that we're unfamiliar with, we need to kind of break into and figure it out. And you'll see a lot of repetition in these images. I asked people to send me 6, and I think most people did. Wes obviously likes helicopters. I can't remember is this the new one?
Yeah.
The $15 million one?
Yeah.
So, and he was the only one that shot a panorama. And that's a runway out there. This is their new $15 million helicopter. I have not flown in one of those. Oh, well,
Right, helicopter right on that pad.
Well, when Malin and I went there a couple weeks before, well, it was more than a couple weeks before, it was coming in for landing and it lands on that. And very articulate, and that's all pilot. They have autopilots, but about 50 feet from the runway, it shuts off. So you're not going to do that.
The other part is the guy's got a little remote control and he pushes it and he drives the thing into the garage and puts it away while sitting on this pad.
And he's what you call a wannabe pilot because he doesn't get to fly the real thing. So now I've flown in the twin engine helicopters before. The one I flew in was a Bocow made by Messerschmitt. Nobody knows what those are. And the pilot said, yeah, it's got 2 engines, but if one shuts down, we're still crashing. So, Kathy Caps, are you here, Kathy? Hey, how are you? And so this is Kathy. Okay, so we're getting into some of the things that I wanted to see personally. You all might be different, but with all this mechanical stuff around, this is sort of like an architectural shoot. If you're a real estate shooter or architectural photographer, this might be your kind of place because you're picking out lines and little things. You're not doing the big picture, and I like that. This is like one of about 6 different versions of this sign. And that flag, great flag. I'm not this Richardson right here, but if I was, I would be dead. So, because he's not around anymore. And Don Columbus, hey, where are you, Don? Hey, Don. This is Don. When you walk into the one meeting room, you see this helicopter hanging from the ceiling. That's a model. But if you pay $15 million for a helicopter, you get a free model. And that's me, by the way, there. And I actually have a picture that I took of me standing on the skids over Robertson, Montana, some years ago. Anyway, everybody loves these helicopters. And see this little thing going on down here? So I'm glad somebody's got some humor. And that's a $450,000 armored car. It'll stop a 50 caliber bullet, which I thought was kind of cool. So what am I doing? I'm actually taking a picture of the only rust I could find on that vehicle. It was the drive shaft linkage. Yeah, anyway, and everybody has this shot, but it's cool, you know. Um, and we're all, they didn't have any leg irons or handcuffs, otherwise we would, but, and of course, Kevin Rambos is our sheriff, so we could congratulate him. Um, and Nick's, where's Nick? Hey, how you doing, Nick? Feeling okay today?
Yep.
Good. Nick sent me just one picture, and this is his version of this fantastic uh, thing, helicopter. Diana Hunter, Diana, no, not here. Okay. Before going into the conference room, we all met out front, and that was Diane's shot. And again, and I apologize, 'cause I always have this stupid look on my face. I think I got it from my dad, but anyway, Bob and Malum. These are tires that are made to run flat, I think. They're pretty cool. And this is Diana, who is this? I know her, but I can't remember her name. Who is it?
Yeah, it's kind of.
That's Diana? But this is Diana's shot, so,
I'm step forward.
oh, you took it so this isn't Diana's shot. Oh, we have to scold her, yeah. She does not have creative license on this picture. Well, and that's actually true. I mean, if somebody takes a picture, if you set it up for them and they push the button, that's fine. You have artistic license, but anyway, I won't get into that. But anyway, so this is Diana. That is, she's bought that from the sheriff's department. No. And they have airboats, and I hate airboats, but Teflon coated on the bottom so that it could run over all kinds of stuff and slip and slide. Wonderful Harley Davidsons. Oh, this is Ben, by the way. Ben, are you here? Ben? Nope. Okay. They keep this place squeaky clean, and I just admire people that can do that. What I found that is if people can keep a garage that good looking, their workspace that good looking, their house is an absolute mess. Yeah. It just is. Okay. This is a special place. People don't get to go here. You cannot drive into the special operations facility. They have a lock gate and it doesn't open for just anybody. That's actually a turret on the top of that thing. This is a rebuilt Vietnam era Huey, which is cool. Yeah, Jim Robillard, thank you. Everybody was shooting pictures of us clowns in that vehicle. So. Huh. You did something weird with that one, Jim. This is the back of the. Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
It was our recruiting poster. Poster, and you ruined it.
I did. I don't know how to fix that. Sandy here? Sandy? Okay. All of us standing outside getting briefed. Sandy again. Everybody likes that helicopter. You know they crash. I just bringing that up. Katie sent me a black and white. I really appreciate this black and white picture, and you'll see why. Another one shot by Katie. Katie did not want to send any images in, and Katie's not here, so I have to yell at her about sending images to me too small. When you send images to, somebody's going to put an image programmed together, 1,024 on the long side. And we can talk more about that. So that's why they're so small. This is me looking at a bunch of clowns standing around. I love this picture. It says remove before flight. I would love a pull in order to inflate. That would have been really good. And then nobody shot this. I saw this. I think it's either Cooper's or red shouldered out front. This one police officer, he's on the SWAT team. I didn't bother him too much because he could have killed me with his little finger. So, anyway, and again, everybody had to take the shot. I did one black and white, and that's significant. We got your nephew doing hand signals. Okay, I'm almost done. Malin, I love these instrument panels. Yeah, see that little red button right here? Way up there? I think that's the fuel shutoff. So you never touch that button. The helicopter that crashed in New York Harbor, somebody had flicked that off and they couldn't restart the engine in time. Anyway. What are you trying to show there, Malin?
The gears.
The gears.
The gears.
And these guys are very proud of their machinery to have, if we ever do this kind of shoot again, we need to go in with some, and think about this, we need to go in with some rules. And the rules might be something like, let's not shoot a crowd, let's not shoot a bunch of photographers going ooh, ah, at all these pieces of equipment, but what's really going on with this equipment. I like this picture. That's a Cessna, I think a 182. It's bigger engine, flies faster. Me and Sandy chatting. I'm holding onto a chair because at my age, I have to have a chair. Thank you, Chip, for showing everybody, especially, I think I was picking my nose at the time. I appreciate you getting that. Standing around. Katie shooting a picture of us. Malin trying to figure out how to get down out of a helicopter. And it's true, Shadow Aviation does own the night, and we're gonna get a presentation next month, and we're gonna learn.
Not about Shadow Aviation.
Okay, oh, because that's secret stuff? I shouldn't have said that, huh?
It's all right.
You have to kill me now?
No,
Okay. All right,
later.
I like this. This is one of the best shots I think that was taken, because, it's something special, it's architectural. Does anybody understand what I'm going for? Depression? Jail time? Phil, I like what Phil's trying to do here, getting the American flag reflection off the nose cone of the Cessna. This is that one SWAT guy. Is it? No, that's his index. Oh, yeah, with his little finger. Yeah. I'm thinking most of these guys are probably military veterans. I kind of hope so, for my safety. And I was talking to him and I said, are you either on the job chasing somebody or you're training, mostly training? He says, oh, no. He says, we do a lot of undercover work. And so there's certain things we couldn't have photographed. Phil, this was very artistic of you. Amazing machine. I guess probably 2 miles per gallon. I think it's on a Ford. Yeah, really. This is a huge, it weighs 22,000 pounds. My Toyota weighs 6,000 pounds. So this thing is a tank, literally. Tail of a helicopter. Yet again, another sign. Okay, I wanted to end with Chuck. Is Chuck here?
Yep.
thank you for these pictures because, and you know, I don't want to critique all these images because it'd be my opinion and I don't like any of them, except Chuck's. Chuck sent me black and whites and he framed them. He framed each one of them. And so just take a look at these and see what's going on. In black and white, you see the textures, you don't see the colors. And so you get all these different lines. I think that Chuck did a really, really good job. This is what I wanted to see after I got home and thought, man, my pictures suck. Okay, but you know, images like this, images like Nick's picture, images like Chip's of the gun that was still in the holster, which was a good thing. But think about the motorcycle shots that were in color. I like the black and white much better personally. And this is black and white except for the nose cone he made in color. So again, says something different. And here is this Katie trying to steal a 21-ton truck. And that's it. So hats off to everybody. Thank you. How many minutes do I have?
-1.
Okay. Okay. Art, where's Art? Art David, going to Miami. When is your trip to Miami? March 8th. Okay, put this on your calendar and you're gonna send out more emails. Okay, so if you're interested in going to Miami doing street photography, Art's your guy.
A lot of details on the homepage.
A lot of details on the homepage. Do we have any, where's David McFarland? Hey, so you're gonna be on February 23rd?
23rd.
Okay, that's the Fort Myers Rodeo. Okay, do people need to contact you about?
You need to buy your tickets online because it'll probably sell out.
Okay, so if you're interested in going to the rodeo, you should have been online because I did send out an announcement, which came from David. So if you want to go to the Fort Myers rodeo, get your tickets online, get a hold of David. He wants to know wants to carpool, that sort of thing. On March 10th, the Naples Players, we did that last year through Malin. And so March 10th is a outing there, and that'll be at the Sugden Theater, which is the Naples Player. It'll be a dress rehearsal, and there you go.
Just want to point out a couple things here, Larry. We're gonna get,
Go ahead and sit down.
we're gonna get into the interior of the theater, and we're talking the flyways, the byways, the channels over the theater itself, over the stage, backstage, the scene shop, the costume shop up on the 3rd floor. So there's a lot of architectural opportunities. Larry and I spent an hour and a half over there yesterday trying to get all the logistics in our heads for this. And what we realized was that we promoted this as a dress rehearsal shoot, which it is. But there's also all this interior stuff, like this is in the catwalk on the top left there. We can go up into that area, but we've got to do it before the dress rehearsal starts. So we're changing the schedule a little bit. We're going to start at 5:30 and go until 6:30 or so. We're going to split you up in groups, relatively small groups, depending on who shows up at that point in time. And then maybe take a break. Their dress rehearsal itself, I believe, will start at 8. So there'll be plenty of time to go out and get a bite to eat, have some, let's find a place to get together and have supper together. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah. Maybe not on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. Anyway.
I could afford on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah. I'll send out more information on this, but I want you to know it's quite comprehensive.
But, and it's like going to the sheriff's facility, you know, take a picture of somebody who's creating a scene, you know, in the carpentry department, you know, take a picture of somebody acting, but in a way that people really are drawn to, you know. This is the same kind of shoot that we did at the sheriff's office facility, as far as picking little things going on. It could be a really good time.
All right, next up, Kenna Renick, Mentor Program.
Good evening. I think in 2018, Sunny asked me to kind of chair this mentor program. And it was a really good success because we had people asking for help and a lot of volunteers. Well, Sunny and I talked, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I put out another letter that maybe you all saw. And we had a couple of people that need help, but we didn't have very many volunteers. And so I know that this club has always been an organization of volunteers. And if there's any way that you'd like to help somebody, because big deal. One of the new members said, I need some help on my Canon, and then I need some help on Lightroom. Well, this is not a long, ongoing program. It's probably going to be one or two conversations and maybe some help, direction, sending them some information. So if any of you would like to volunteer, we would very much appreciate it. I know when I came on the club, came into the club, I had a lot of people helping me, volunteers, and it made a big difference to me. So if you have time, if you'd like to, you don't need to be an expert. You need to be a user of Canon equipment or Nikon equipment or Sony equipment or lenses or filters. And just, I'm going to put out another broad email to the entire organization, and I hope I get some more volunteers. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we've got a trifecta tonight for 45 minutes. First up will be Phil Wheat, Processing Best Photo of the Year. Then Jim Robillard, Famous Photographers. And then Malin Stacy, Smartphone Photography. So take it away, guys.
Okay, so I've got 15 minutes, right? Yell at me if I go over. And if I'm not talking into the microphone, wave at me. So I've got quite a bit to go over, so if we can try to save questions till the end, that would be good. But if something's really killing you, you gotta ask, go ahead and do it. Okay, so Malin asked, or was telling me one day when we were out shooting, that his niece had a woodpecker nest in a tree in her yard. And I said, well, I'd like to go photograph that. So he invited me, and we got up one morning before sunrise and went out there, and I had I took my 600 millimeter f4 with a 1.4 teleextender, which made it 840 millimeters at 5.6. And I shot this it was 400 ISO. And it was we waited, we got there, and when the light was really good, of course, the mother didn't show up with the food. She's out catching bugs and worms and things and bringing them in. And so she finally came in, and the light was getting pretty bright and the shadows were getting fairly strong. So it made it, when I took the photo, it wasn't the best. And I looked at it and I go, I don't know if this is going to be any good or I can do anything with it. But shooting in RAW, and also I shot one stop under, which I do commonly. I used auto ISO. And because of that, I was able to pull the shadows out, which was mostly what I had to deal with, and deal with the spots that were too bright. So I'll kind of go through and show you basically how I do it and how I do post-processing on photographs. Okay, so this is the photograph that actually won. And it's the mother. You can tell it's a mother because she doesn't have any red right in this area below her eye. I know the people that are on YouTube aren't going to see this pointer, but you can't have everything for not coming. But anyway, so there were things that I did to sort of enhance it a little bit. But it got first in the interpretive division of F3C, which when I put it in, I didn't think I was going to win anything. When I put it in DippySig, it didn't win anything. Which, by the way, I am a judge, so I have to take a little credit for, you know, the inconsistencies. But for those people that put things in and don't win, just keep putting them in. Somebody's going to like them. Because it depends so much on the judges that are judging it. I mean, if you get three people and two of them say, I don't like birds, you know, I'm screwed. Because I like to photograph birds. So anyway, so here, this is the photo, and here's what it looked like when I shot it, okay? So you can see that there's a lot of shadows here. There's shadows in here. It's way bright out here. So how am I going to get a good photo out of this? So the first thing I did was I cropped it because this blue took away from the photo, was distracting in my opinion. So here's how I cropped it, and I cropped it this way because I didn't want any of the blue sky showing. It was too much. And so I went right to the edge of the tree. I made sure that I got the claws of the pileated woodpecker. By the way, this is the largest woodpecker in North America. It didn't used to be. We had one called the ivory billed woodpecker that's extinct now. But this is the largest, and these are the three chicks. That's a female again because it doesn't have any red there. The young ones probably are all, could be males, I'm not sure. This one might be a female. But I cropped it that way so that I thought I could work with that. So if I didn't want to, you know, I start out in Lightroom. I know that a lot of people here start out in Photoshop. I see Bob back there. He does, right, Bob? Yeah. But a lot of people start out in Lightroom, but you know, whether it's Camera Raw or Lightroom, you know, this is the same thing. So everything I say about Lightroom is Camera Raw, as you know. So these are the settings that I used. These are the global settings. So I started out with the global settings, and the first thing that I always do in global settings is I expand the dynamic range up here on the histogram by taking the white and black to the extreme until they go off the histogram. And then I usually bring them in slightly. So I did that, and then I also worked with the shadows to open up the shadow on the back of the mother right here, and to try to open up the shadow in here. So I did as much as I could there. I don't think I did much with the colors. I might have increased them slightly here. By the way, I don't use saturation slider at all. I work with the individual colors down here. And to me, that's a big deal. Because it's if you just take your slider and increase the saturation and you're shooting a Canon, let's say, all these shadows here and these shadows down in here, all this, you get a blue color. And that's the sensor in a Canon camera does that in shadows. So I don't know about, I think Nikon might be magenta or something. I'm not a Nikon shooter, but I've heard that. So, you know, over here you'll see I reduced the blue because there was blue in these shadows, and there's no blue in this photograph. And one of the things when I'm judging that really does bother me is I see somebody's got a really cool shot of a bird doing something, but then it's got blue feathers and there's no blue on that bird. Okay, so that ruins it. So, you know, you want to get rid of the colors that don't belong there. You know they don't belong there. And part of that has to do with you knowing the species and the things that you're working with. So if you don't know it, Google it, look it up and see what the bird looks like, and don't put blue on the wings if it's not there. So these were the global changes that I did. Then I went to, and this is actually kind of not a lot compared to what I do a lot of times. These are all using the mask brush right over here, the mask tool. That tool is one of the biggest advantages that have come out in Lightroom in the last 5 years, is that you can now do things that you used to do in Photoshop, but you can do them in Lightroom. Now, some of the things that you can do in Lightroom that you do in Photoshop still aren't as good. For instance, some of the spot removal stuff and all that, Photoshop's still better at it, but you can do quite a bit in Lightroom now. So I know there's a lot of people, I see a few of them when I look out there, that say, I don't use Photoshop. Well, I'll talk about Photoshop in a minute, but if you want to do a good job in your post-processing, you need to learn how to do a few basic things in Photoshop that aren't hard to do. You don't have to do, 50 layers, but these are basically layers from like in Photoshop, but all you do here is just click up here and say new mask. So when you're doing the individual spots, for instance, these white areas on the chicks, they were blown out some. So I made a little, I took a brush and I turned the highlights way down, and I brushed them and I brought out the details in the white. Okay, same thing over here with the back. I opened up the shadows more on the back. I worked on the eyes. We'll talk about eyes in a minute, because the eyes are, to me, on a bird photograph, are the key. One of the keys. One of them is getting impact. Impact here is basically, these guys are trying to survive. And it's survival of the fittest. So they're all up there trying to get mom to give them like a little worm or some food. And if they're back here in the back and they don't get fed, they may not live. So this is serious business, and you can tell by the looks on their face and it comes out in those eyes. Okay, and that's all part of the impact of the photograph. You may not realize when you look at the photograph, why is it that when I look at this photograph, it's just like, wow, there's something there. It's because of the emotions that are brought out by seeing the mom there and all these little chicks going for, trying to eat to stay alive, basically. And you can see the claws on the mother hanging onto the tree, and all those things kind of bring out emotion in the photograph. So anyway, opened up shadows in here, opened up this. On the eyes, the one eye that wasn't very good was this little guy here, and the mother's eye wasn't real good either. So when you use the brush tool in the masking area, there's I think that's it right there. I'm looking from the side here, but there's a thing that says custom up here. And if you click on that, it'll give you all these presets in Lightroom. And the presets are to do a lot of different things. I don't use very many of them, but there's also a place where you can make your own. You just do your settings the way you want it, and then you click on that and you name it, and it adds to that list. So I have like 2 in there that are eyes, bird's eyes. So when I just click on it and then I just go over the eye, it does like 90% of what I want to do, and then I adjust it further. So worked on the shadows, worked on eyes. On this eye, what I did was I blew the photograph up quite large on my computer, and then I looked at the eye up close, and it just didn't look very good. So I went back to another photograph, and I put it in Photoshop, and I borrowed the eye from another one and just pasted it on there, cut and pasted. basically. Or the other thing that I commonly do is that I'll enlarge it, and the catch light in the eye, the little light reflection on the eye brings depth to the eye and makes the photograph much better. So I almost always make sure I have a catch light in the eye if I can. And the way you can do that is you look at it, while I'm photographing, I'll look for that catch light and I'll photograph it with the catch light in the eye, whatever I can, but you don't always get it. And so what you can do is you can enlarge it, and then you can open up the shadows on the eye. You just say you're almost just looking at the eyeball, and you open up the shadow real wide, you'll see a catch light there that you didn't see with your naked eye. So what you do then is you make a little teeny brush, and you just brush over that, and you open up the exposure and the whites on it, and you'll bring out the catch light that's there that you didn't know was there. And that works really well. I've never seen anybody write that or talk about it. I just sort of discovered that on my own. And I'll show you another thing I like to do with eyes as well. But on this side of the photograph, right there, you can see there's one of the masks was I made it darker. I took the glare out of it. I took the highlights out here, and you know, all this part of it so far. Probably I'm 7 minutes into it. Okay, it's not like I spent an hour on it. It's like, and I do this on almost, if I see a photograph I think I might use, I do all this, and then when I get to the end, I look at it and I go, man, and I delete it. Because I don't like it. I mean, I go, okay, I've done everything I can and it's no good. So forget it. Just go on to the next one, you know? And, but then let's talk a little bit about, let's see, what is this one? It's hard to see from over here.
Sharpening,
That was,
noise reduction.
no, I did a few more global things there. And in here, I don't use topaz sharpen much or any of the other. The only topaz of these that I use basically is I use denoise, because I get too many artifacts using the sharpen and all that. It's kind of, to me, it's a waste of money. But the denoise, it will sharpen, it'll denoise, it will do everything. So I use denoise, and I think Jim uses it too, you told me, because and I found out just by experience that it worked the best, and you don't get very many artifacts. And right over here on the denoise, you can turn it down. So I usually turn it down because I'm using a good lens that's sharp. The photograph's sharp. I used eye detection when I took the photo. So the photograph's sharp to begin with, so I don't really need to sharpen it any. I just want to make it a little sharper. But I want to get rid of the noise. There was a lot of noise in this shadow I brought out inside the nest in the tree and on the back of the bird right here. You remember from the beginning when I showed you the photograph, that was like all black, okay? So I got rid of the noise. So I use the one called clear. If it's really bad, I'll use severe noise, but those are the only two I use. And I'll sometimes adjust the clear, but the clear one rarely, if ever, leaves artifacts, which is, to me, if I got a photograph that's not very good and it's not sharp, then I try to salvage it with sharpen, which is about 1 out of 100 photos that I process. A lot of times, I get it and it looks pretty good, although the sharpen makes things look like plastic sometimes. And then you look at the areas around it and you'll see these squiggle marks and things that are just awful, so I just, again, I usually use denoise and not the others. And then, let's see. this is when I put it in Photoshop. Let me look here for a second. Yeah, okay. And in Photoshop, is where I think I went to another previous shot of this guy right here. See how his eye looks better? I think I borrowed it when his head was turned a little different way, and I got a good shot of that. And I just, or I, on, in Photoshop, open up the two photographs next to each other, you can actually just use the clone tool, that's one of the things that you just really need to learn how to use. You still can't do a lot of things in Lightroom, and you need to be able to use a clone tool. So I just basically cloned the eye from one and brought it over and snapped it onto that one, and it's done. So I put an eye on there that looked better. And it was his eye, it's just a different angle. Or I could have gone up here and taken one of these eyes and up higher and cloned it and brought it down. And from here and here, and then I would take the clone tool and I would make the eye look different. I'd change where the catch light was, or I'd do something different so you couldn't tell that I had done that. And then the other thing that I like to do in Photoshop, so the things that you need to learn how to use in Photoshop are, you need to learn how to use the generative fill, because what it used to take me 45 minutes in Photoshop with the clone tool to get rid of limbs and things, or an hour or 2 hours even, I can do in 3 or 4 minutes now with the generative fill. You just take the lasso tool. Let's say there's a limb running right through here. You just take the lasso tool up here, make a circle around that, click down here and say generate, and it'll give you 3 choices and pick it out. Every once in a while it throws in a Mickey Mouse or something, something crazy because it's using artificial intelligence, but it's basically doing what the clone tool did, but it's using its brain to do it. It's going around where the subject was, and it's finding feathers over here, and it's putting them where the stick was, and it's doing your job for you. So it's a great tool. They don't have that. There is a spot removal tool now in Lightroom that uses AI, but if the problem is near the edge of the photograph, you get a big smudge mark every time, and it also still leaves. Am I running over?
You're getting close.
Oh, okay, I'm about done. Um, so, but let's see if this is the one with. Okay, the other thing I like to use is I go to filters in Photoshop and I hit the liquefy. It's right up there. And this is a bloat tool, it's called. So on the eye, sometimes you can actually take that tool, go over the eye. Let's say the eye's closed part way, and you just start clicking on it, and it blows it up like a balloon and opens the eye up for you. So you can salvage a photograph with that. I use that quite a bit. It comes in handy. Or if you just want to make the eye stand out a little better, you can just, maybe you might increase it by 10%, the size of the eye, just to make it look a little better. So we started out with this. The back was black. Everything was black here. The eye you couldn't see the eye here. And you end up with that in your post-processing. Oh, I think I also used the bloat tool on this worm right here. I hit it once or twice to make the worm a little bigger because I wanted you to be able to see what he was passing over to the chick. So when I was finished, I did another photograph that I had a hard time deciding which one to use, and it was taken, I'd say, 1/10 of a second later, and that's this one. So I'm not sure which I like the best, but I chose the other one. because I could see the mother's eye on the other one and I couldn't see it here. But this one, I think, as far as emotion was, actually has more of the emotion. So that does it? Yeah, Ken?
Well, I don't have any questions. What I will say is, I don't know how many people appreciate this picture, but it is phenomenal. I've spent a good deal of time photographing pileated woodpeckers. They are so busy, they move around, they don't sit, you've got to be on, and you've really got to anticipate what they're going to do, and what you've done there. I think that's the best piece I've seen ever.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Any questions, anybody, or did I put everybody to sleep? Okay, I'll get out of the way.
Months ago, Nick gave a presentation and it got me to thinking about the fact that we really don't, a lot of us haven't been educated really and studied some of the masters. I mean, we all know who Ansel Adams is and some of these famous photographers, but there are some other ones that we should look at and should study, and they will really help with your photography journey. And one of these that and so this is a kind of an ongoing thing that over the months we'll do some different people. So how many people, and I know there are two people in here that know him, but how many people know Sebastio Salgado? I know Nick does, and I know Don Columbus does. Anybody else heard of him? He is a living photographer. So I gotta switch here because I'm also doing YouTube. Okay, so his early career, he was trained as an economist. He's from Brazil, lived out in a ranch, literally way out in the middle of nowhere, like a 45-day horse ride with the cattle to market. So you can 5 days back. So, I mean, he is in the middle of nowhere. And he came to photography quite late. He was a trained economist, traveled the world as an economist in developing countries. And then in the 70s, he decided to get into photography to help understand his, take pictures of his journeys around the world. And he also, as an economist, he had this perspective of, at the time, the economic disadvantage of different groups. And so one of his first projects was workers. And so in his travels, he started documenting workers. And the name of the book that he eventually put together was called Workers: An Archaeology of the Industrial Age. And so when you look at his works are all in black and white. And so the early works are all taken either with a Leica in 35 or a Pentax 645, and he's shooting, Tri-X film. That's the only film he ever used in his whole career is Tri-X. And so shooting either 120 or 220 roll film. And so this is one of his more famous pictures from that early period, the gold mines at Sierra Plata in Brazil. This was near his home originally. And so it's about the whole series is about the plight of the worker. And, his style is documentary, and we'll talk about some of his lighting later. His early photos don't necessarily show his lighting technique, but you'll see that they are very high contrast black and whites with a ton of detail, even with the 35 millimeter or the medium format. So, I mean, look at the mass of humanity here, in the mine. And it's just, some of these photos, when you see them, just boggle your mind. But, it's this apoplectic vision, as it states here, and it's just like an anthill. It really is. as he traveled the world, he was very good at photographing indigenous peoples. And in this particular series, again, it's in India of coal mine workers, and this one back here, I don't know if you noticed, but the current price of the print is $106,000. So, and this one is $26,000. And we'll get how he makes the prints in a minute here. But you see this again, dramatic poses where this is a sulfur mine, if you can believe it. And so, there's no OSHA around, Elon already got rid of that. And now we have these people, if you can imagine, going into a volcano to harvest the sulfur and carrying that out and what that does to you as a person. So he was very much about documenting that and living with these people. It wasn't like he showed up at the volcano. He would actually live there and get to know these people so he could take these intimate portraits. In the Ukraine, a steel mill, and this is a good example of the style of lighting he really likes. It's called, how do you pronounce it? Nick Chiaroscuro, right? Chiaroscuro, yeah. And so we'll see some examples of that. This one, it's really iconic. It's this is a shipbreaking yard, in Bangladesh. But the way he is positioned, look at the people down on the shore and the scale of the boat. It's just absolutely incredible. And he did a whole series and he pulled this out. It's called Fire in Kuwait. This is after the first Kuwait invasion. And remember, Saddam blew up all the wells and you had all those fiery things. But again, just, here's this worker, it's not Red Adair, but somebody like him, going to shut down the well. And, you look at these and you say, how do these people do this, So, and again, the contrast on these black and whites is incredible. And Nick was gracious enough, by the way, to, he has one of his books, and it's up there, and you should look at some of the prints. Be careful because it's a really good book, but just to look at the quality of some of the prints.
Little donut glaze on the pages with
Yeah,
images.
So for his work on migrations, he went, work on workers, he went to migrations. And so this was documenting, Rwanda, Sudan, all of that. And you can start to see more of his portraiture style being developed here. So these really great compositions. It doesn't often show the face on some of these, but you get a sense of the humanity. Look at the dog and, the ribs on the dog. This is a camp of refugees in Rwanda, during the camp near Goma. So Goma is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Goma is now under siege. A friend of mine built a school in Goma for the women that were raped in the first deal. And so that whole city is a real mess right now. And so they're going through it again. This is the conflict between the Tutus and the Hutsis or whatever. So, but look at this as a landscape photo. And the one thing you do notice, particularly on the bigger screen here, is the grain. And when we'll get to his later work, he actually puts grain back in because he is used to triax. Kosovo. Look at the people, the expressions. Waiting for water. This is in the Sudan or Somali. Hey, I didn't know you could do you could do pinch to zoom here. Look at that. This is a migration in India, this is one of his more famous photographs. The chaos. And after that, he went to his latest project, which was published in 2013. And he spent 8 years doing this. And one of the things I would say to you is, if you have a favorite subject, make it a project. Like, for instance, I have 2 folders that over time, one is on windows and one is on abandoned churches. And so, you don't have to, do it like he did, where he focuses 8 years of his life doing the project. But it's interesting to, keep that in your mind. With Genesis, he has moved from the workers' plight, the migration of masses, to now looking at the environment. And he was not sure that there were uninhabited, beautiful places on the earth. He had thought that seeing all this destruction and damage over the years, there weren't these beautiful places, but in fact, he did spend 8 years and found these beautiful places. And this is just an outstanding, when you see the print of this, just look at the silver on the seal there, it's just dynamic photograph. This in Africa, the elephants walk. Southern white whale. And so let me just say that the book was published in 2013, but after about 2005, he gave up shooting film. He was in Africa. He had 600 rolls of 220 film, which weighed about 80 kilograms. And some of them were getting damaged with the x-rays. If you remember, after 9/11, a lot of these countries, they went to really strong x-ray machines. And so he was actually getting damaged negatives. And so that's when he made the decision to go to digital. So he went to one of the Canon products, one of the first 1 series digital ones. And so some of these are actually shot digital. Penguin photograph on the icebergs. This photograph is in Namibia. This is, reminiscent very much of both Christine and Diana have this photograph. And then his landscapes, look at the leading lines, look at the clouds. Again, the chiaroscuro lighting, and I've photographed the Grand Canyon, and it is tough to photograph. And this is just an outstanding photograph of it. Again, the strong contrast in the light. So let's look at some of his portraits. He really does a great job of capturing their humanity. And, part of his thing is you got to display the nobility of the person. I love this one of the kids poking out of the blanket. Again, a lot of indigenous people, and he does a great job with his lighting, his portraiture lighting. And a lot of it, you see a hard light, a lot of it is side light. And so that comes from a historic thing, the chiaroscuro is a combination of, the original practicers of it were Caravaggio in the 1600s and also Da Vinci. So if you look at, for instance, this is his photograph on the right, and Caravaggio's, this is the Calling of St. Matthew, 1600, Taking of Christ in 1602, and against the Ukraine one, you can see just the hard light, and deep shadows, yet there's still detail in the shadows, whether it's his photo or the painting. And then the beheading of St. John the Baptist versus, say, the penguins. So that's the historic basis for his lighting technique. And you see it even in his landscapes, not just his portraiture. And again, leading lines. South Sudan, you really see it here, with the backlighting through the thing, yet, in both of these, this one and in this one, the face is captured, but you have the lighting from the back, and then filling in the front there reflecting off of something. So from the standpoint of his cameras, again, 35 millimeter. And then he went to the digital in 2005. On the prints, I was just telling Nick that because he's all printed from a negative his whole life, with the digital, he found the digital too clean. You know, we talked about noise reduction and making it plastic. So he and his team developed a add-on, you know, where they're putting the grain back in to match Tri-X to give him that look that he wants in his style of photography. The other thing he does is for his gallery, since you see the prices of them, he's not using the inkjet. He is printing wet on silver gelatin. So he uses a technique called light valve technology, which Malin will figure out what the heck that is and have a quiz on it next month. So a light valve allows you to take the digital negative and transfer it into like an 8x10 regular negative that you can print then with silver gelatin, not inkjet. So that's Salgado. So take a look at his stuff. There's a lot online because he's still alive. There's a lot of YouTube videos and interviews with him, and terrific, terrific photography. You get a chance, take a look at the book. Anything you want to say, Nick?
Well done.
All right. Derek's son?
Okay, so I've got minus 5 minutes.
Well, you're going to have to talk fast.
Okay, everybody enjoy that? Camera. Sonny, I thought you got rid of yours. No, not yet. How many of you have a smartphone? I'm in a very concrete crowd here. That's very good. So I decided a couple of years ago that a smartphone was going to be my second camera. So I had to develop techniques and ways to deal with it that worked for me. And I'm going to share a little bit of that with you tonight, plus ideas from some other folks who are offering tips on smartphone technology. Those of you that are visiting tonight, this might be right up your alley, or you might go away and say, what the hell's he talking about? We'll see. So the first tip is clean your damn lens. Take it out of your pocket and wipe it off because it gets smudged. And I don't always think to do that, but it's a great idea. You can use the same lens cleaning kit you use with your, what was it, 400-pound, 300-millimeter lens, Larry?
No, that's a 21 ton,
21 ton, yeah.
carry
Yeah. And you think back then what the rule of thirds is? Yeah, I know you do. Talking about visitors. Rule of thirds is basically where you divide the screen up into 9 sections. And where those lines cross are kind of like the hot points in the image. That's where you want to get your person's face or eyes or whatever, depending on what you're shooting, of course. It's a compositional idea and it improves your impact on your image. So if you can remember to do that, in fact, your camera may have a built-in way to show that grid while you're shooting, so you can actually line up some of those things on the rule of thirds. Now, Nick is going to tell you, don't use the rule of thirds because it's a rule. And Nick wants to avoid rules. But I suggest that you start using the rule of thirds and then forget about it because it'll become natural for you to look at your composition and put it together in ways that work. Does that sound good, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Adjust the exposure and the focus. Now, I tried on my camera to change the exposure while taking a picture and I couldn't do it. But your camera may do it, so check it out. But focus, yes. Most of your smartphone cameras will allow you to touch the screen on the point of focus that you want. So if you're shooting somebody's face, touch the eye on your screen and it will focus there. Yeah.
On an iPhone, when you touch it, you get the golden square And on the right side of that, there's an up and down line where you can change your exposure.
Okay,
He's on an Android.
Yeah, I'm on-
See,
I'm on a-
That's the problem.
a good phone.
You're the less capable.
Both of them are great, and I ended up with a Samsung because it had a very long focal length lens on it, which appealed to me. Yes, sir.
The Samsung, you can go to more and hit the Pro.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then you can change it.
Yeah. There's raw and there's more. There's a pro, both. Okay, and that's what I'm getting into next is your phone will do a pretty darn good job of taking a picture of almost anything. But you often will get into situations like Phil was with the woodpeckers where you've got something that's in a shadow, and that's really where you want to have the impact in that image. And in that case, you may want to increase your exposure so that you can see that better. It might blow out something else in the image, but you might be surprised that you really get a better picture when you do it that way. So get into experimenting with adjusting the focus and the exposure. And on my Android, it says Pro. Is there a name for it on? No. Okay. It's left unnamed. This is Expert RAW. A couple of images that I took with my phone. And for example, the image on the upper left here, it's got a fairly wide depth of field. So front to back, it's in focus by using the Expert RAW option. The one on the right is a shallow depth of field, which you can control on the smartphone using the Expert RAW option on my camera. Yep. No, this is in Ireland.
Scopes.
Yeah. But fireweed nonetheless. Yep. Leverage natural lighting. How many of you in here have won ribbons in the competition with natural lighting? I know a bunch of you have. Yeah. Yeah. Natural lighting really gives you the opportunity to catch the grace in somebody, I think. And I try to do it whenever I can. I'm not very good at it, but use natural lighting when you can. Have somebody turn into the light or away from the light a little bit so you get a little contour on the face, for example. Experiment with angles and perspectives. I didn't necessarily get great shots here to illustrate this, but the lower angle of my family on the right there in the middle is kind of down looking up at them. So it's kind of a low angle. I've done lower than that. A high angle with the bottom picture. Actually, the right picture is a high angle on the sugar bowl, and the bottom one is a bird's eye view of folks at an arts festival. So get up and down with your camera. You don't have to look through the viewfinder and see what's on the screen all the time. Set it up so it's going to take the kind of picture you want and put it by your feet. Put it up in the air. I've taken pictures of kids eating breakfast where it's right over the top of them and you see their shoulders and the top of their heads, and it's an interesting shot. So experiment with that. Utilize portrait mode. I think almost all of these cameras have a portrait mode these days. It kind of gives you, what's it called in the background, guys? This is where the background goes all fuzzy, and it allows the subject to stand out more when you do that. So portrait mode will help you do that. You can edit your photos with apps. Somebody was asking, was it last month, about how to crop a photo with a phone? In my phone, there's an app that's part of the phone. You just press the pencil button and it opens it up and the corners are already there. You just slide them in and it crops the image and you say save. You can also use filters, which will change the style of the image, almost like you were adjusting it in Photoshop or Lightroom. And crop and resize. You can enhance, bring out the brightness in part of the image. So this is Snapseed, which is a free app. It runs on both iPhones and Androids and maybe the Pixels and who knows what else. But it allows you to select images. You can open them, like we can see how they do that on the left. There's filters right there. There's a whole slew of tools that you can use to adjust your image. One of them is cropping, of course. But you can change the brightness, the darkness, the lightness. You can highlight various areas. You can get some interesting effects with some of these tools. And then you can share the resulting image right out of the Snapseed program if you want to do that.
Is that in?
It's an app.
Yes.
Yes, it's in the App Store or in the Play Store.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it's a very good program. I bumped into it probably 10 years ago, and I use it off and on ever since. I find the Samsung app does most of what I need to do now anyway, but I get in there once in a while. Invest in accessories if you really want to get into phone photography and you want to be a little more creative. And macro lenses, although some of the newer phones especially do very well with macro shots, and telephoto lenses. My particular camera goes from about 18 millimeters, this is 35 millimeter equivalent, 18 millimeters up to about 235 millimeters, which is pretty good. But if you wanted to go farther, you get the problem of if you don't put it on a tripod, you're going to have trouble holding on to it, even with a stabilization. So it doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily. And then share your images. Get them out there on social media. Let people see what you're doing. That's all I've got to say. Any questions? Yes, Ross?
Is your widest angle equivalent 35 millimeters?
About it, 16 or 18 millimeters. The standard lens on mine is 22 and a half.
No, with the iPhone, now, I don't have new, but I have 13 Pro still. But I can still go to a wide angle, widest angle I have, and it's the equivalent of about 12 millimeters on full frame.
Yeah.
Which if you're investing in a super wide angle lens, this becomes your scout camera for where you want to go when you want to get down low. You don't have to get the big camera out, start looking for perspectives. It's this. It's a great tool.
The first presentation I put together for this, that you reminded me, which I didn't include, that particular one thing I didn't include in this presentation, was a smartphone forces you to get back into the basics of photography. You don't have all the lenses and the filters and all the other stuff that we carry around with our big camera bags. You have to kind of see how you're going to capture that with the limited equipment that you have. So that's good. You can do that. You can also do panoramas, of course, too, and get a really wide angle. Yes?
In that vein, you can use a smartphone for geo-mapping. So if you are on a photographic adventure using your good stuff, you take an iPhone picture from that same spot, and you'll have a document of where you were. Because 3 weeks later, 6 cities later, 80 churches later.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a document.
Exactly.
Cheap buying.
Okay, you want to take a break here, Sonny?
Be sure and tell them to check out the free table.
Check out the free table. Don't take the table, but anything on it is you're welcome to. It take 10 minutes?
Sure.
We're only about 25 minutes behind.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Everybody, we're running a little late, so we're gonna get started up again. So take a seat, relax. Next up is Jim Robillard, Dippy Sig, AI artist for fall 2025. So listen up and enjoy.
Oh. Okay. So, we have an AI group that meets monthly, and it's basically straight AI. AI is art. And so we've been asked to be a major contributor of AI art. And so the exhibit will be at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. So we get the whole museum. So many of you have been there. and you've seen some of them. Art just had an exhibit there. Art and I had the whole museum a year ago, I guess. And so what they're asking for is AI-generated art, and the purpose is to educate the general public on what AI is. And it's open to the public, it's not a Dippy Sig thing, it's actually their exhibit, although we are the major contributor, because they don't know a lot of people that do AI art. And so the categories are South Florida nature and beach scenes, street photography, black and white, fine art abstracts in Hispanic and in Latin culture and art. And the reason for that one is because Collier County and the Tourist Board gives money to the art thing through Viva Art. And so there's an unlimited number of entries per category. It is a juried exhibition, so you can put your AI stuff in there, and it has to be pretty much pure AI. That will be judged by them and then put in 16 by 20 minimum size, framed or canvas. I wanted to show you that this was the exhibit that Art and I did on tattoos. And Art and I told him, hey, we're not going to print all these things because nobody's going to buy tattoo people. So I printed these. These are 24 by 36. And if you notice, they're just on the wall with clips. And they hung there for 2 months perfectly straight. So it isn't like you have to, spend a lot of money on having them framed. So I just thought I'd show you some of the work that the group has been doing. The group has been meeting for 18 months now. And so these are just some of the ones we've done recently. The prompts you'll see over to the side there. This kind of fits in the Hispanic culture. Sue did this one during Christmas of a scene we asked for. Art did this one the other day, Canal, Venice. Art does these wonderful, wonderful portrait and art things. Now these are all 100% AI. There's no, Photoshop here. These are all, Karen is a master, absolute master. She loves her cat. This is her cat leg. Donna has been coming along really well. She has done a great job. And this was an assignment was film noir, so it does really good with black and white street photography, which is why that's a category. Again, another one of Karen's. This is one of my favorites, where she has gotten that dress, and the sea foam to be a bridal thing. So that's the kind of art that they're looking for. Malin here, he's got his flamenco dancer on Fifth Avenue. So again, those are the categories and the rules. And our next meeting is in March the 4th. If you are new to AI and want to join us, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I think I saw Richard here somewhere tonight. Richard, you're next. Come on down. Richard's going to talk to us about the F3C conference coming up. So.
Have you bought your ticket yet?
Yes.
If you haven't, time's a wasting. You've only got 7 weeks? About 7 weeks. Photography is the most democratic of all art forms. Everybody can take a picture. It takes no skill and hardly any weight to incredible amounts of skill and equipment and muscle-bound pack horses to carry the wonderful equipment we have around. The way we get better with these is the same way we got better with the big hunkin' things. And it's the same way we make pictures that people go, ooh, ah, wow. All of that stuff is learned information, and traditionally that has been done with camera clubs. We have been the vehicle that trains ourselves and other people how to use this marvelous tool that we have. Clubs are generally made up of professional photographers, technical people, advanced hobbyists, and artists. The F3C conference, with its plus more than 70 different breakout sessions, addresses all of those. It's an incredible opportunity to increase your skill, be able to talk about what you're doing with people that actually care, and come away with some new friends and some new experiences. If you haven't considered it, come. It's cheap enough. You can just come for a day if you want to. But please consider it. Tell your friends. And of course, with the discount that we give you through the club here, it makes it even more affordable. So please, 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 look on your calendar. It's the end of March. The weather will be nice. It won't be too hot yet. No more cold freeze. We'll still have a lot of snowbirds, and you can take pictures of them too. But lots of places to come out and shoot photographs, get new skills, meet new people, and have a great time. So please consider it, and I hope to see you there.
I don't think I'm mistaken, if in fact we have more speakers at this conference, than we've ever had in any of our conferences. This is the widest variety of speakers and the largest number of speakers that we've ever presented at a conference. So if you haven't been, or you have been in the past, I surely wouldn't miss this one. This is, I think, going to be the absolute premier conference that we've ever done. So check it out. Okay, we're going to do our picture show. So the January theme show by Christina Skibicki. Here we go.
February.
Oh, February. Sorry about that.